Well, hello again, everybody. My name is Sydney Winston. I am an atheist activist out of Vancouver, Canada. I just was. It's kind of approaching 11 p.m. at night. I'm not quite tired. I feel a little guilty that I didn't do my live stream earlier. I don't know. I just wasn't into it. Sorry about that. I didn't see anybody exactly waiting anxiously to join in, so I just didn't do it. But I came across this old clip of Gary Milne. He plays the part of Darth Dawkins on the internet. Now, Darth Dawkins is like the dumbest Christian imaginable, and shortly I'll show you why. But it's a clip, an old clip, on Lance Plays LOL's channel, where Darth Dawkins makes an absolute mess of things and makes a fool of himself. I love it. I think that I've listened to it a few times actually, and I tell you, it's one of those. Have you ever listened to a song or something where you just listen to it over and over and over again because it's so cool, and then eventually at the end of listening it a million times you hate it? But I've listened to this one a couple, 3 times, to be fairly honest, and I really love it. I just love it. So what I was thinking was, let's start it. There's no video to watch, so I'll be your video. I'll do my best. So here we go.
It's an absolute crushing. Tell us an absolute right now.
Okay.
All right, great.
Darth, why do you...
So somebody's asked him to tell us, because you know he's absolute this, absolute that. Somebody's asked Gary to tell us an absolute. Gary, tell us an absolute right now.
Curious about that too. What is an absolute truth? Can I have an example of that?
What is an absolute? Well, there's only one absolute, and that's the triune God of the Christian world.
Yep.
Why
And
is
that's
it
an assumption.
an absolute truth? Why is that
Everything.
an absolute
Well,
truth?
I didn't say absolute truth. You see,
Well,
what is an absolute? Well, there's only one absolute, and that's the triune God of the Christian world.
Yep.
why
And
is
that's
it
an assumption.
an absolute truth? Why is that
Everything.
an absolute
Well,
truth?
I didn't say absolute truth.
Shit, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I was muted. Okay, let me just recap here. So he says there is one absolute, and that's the triune God. And then he says, I didn't say it's an absolute truth. So what does he mean when he's saying this? When he says that there's one absolute, it's a triune God, but I didn't mean it to be absolute truth. Let's see if we can get an answer for that.
You see,
Well, that's what I said.
some of you,
What is
you're
an
over
example of
talking.
an absolute?
I'm answering you. Now, if you persist in over talking me, I'll put a note down in your account not to respond to you anymore. Now,
That's so
I
typical.
did not use the term absolute truth. I never do unless I'm quoting somebody.
So he never uses the word absolute truth, but he did say the triune God is absolute. So let's see where we go.
Else. Okay. Now, somebody asked me, what is something that is absolute? And I told them the triune God of the Christian scriptures. Okay.
And then, of course, you.
So the triune God of the Christian scriptures is absolute. All right, I'm sorry, I'm going to play this again because he's so sneaky. You got to watch out with his word salad.
Is something that is absolute. And I told them the triune God of the Christian scriptures. Okay.
And then, of course, you have evidence of this, right?
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
the only evidence
uh-huh.
that we can have of that which is absolute is for the absolute to be, first of all, personal. And
The only evidence of that which is absolute is for the absolute to be personal. What a bunch of bollocks.
have a number of other attributes which I can get into.
Okay, so it must be personal. Hold on, let's just hear that again. The only something.
Exactly.
Well, the only evidence that we can have of that which is absolute.
The only evidence we can have of that which is absolute
is for the absolute to be, first of all, personal.
Is for the absolute to be, first of all, personal. Right, so the only evidence we can have of the absolute is if the absolute is primarily personal. Okay, this is important. Personal. And then he says a number of other attributes.
And have a number of other attributes which I can get into.
So, personal, the number one where am I going here? The number one prerogative of the absolute. I don't know where I've lost my track here. Gary, help me out here.
Such as the Christian God, and give self-disclosure of himself. If you reject.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Sorry.
And then, of course, you have evidence of this, right?
Went back a little bit too quick. Too far.
Well, the only evidence that we can have of that which is absolute is for the absolute to be, first of all, personal. And have a number of other.
All right, so the absolute has to be personal. This is the thing. This is where he buries himself. How can the absolute, whatever the absolute is, if it is at all, which I don't know if there's such a thing. I don't even know what it means, absolute. But then it's got to get personal. You know that it's BS from this point on, right? Number one, the absolute has to be personal. I can't get over the fact that he actually says the number one thing about the absolute is that it has to be personal. That's just bullshit. Absolute crapola.
Attributes which I can get into, such as the Christian God, and give self-disclosure of himself.
Then he says the Christian God gives self-disclosure of himself. So the absolute, it has to be personal, and the Christian God, being absolute, also discloses himself or reveals himself.
If you reject the evidence that has been provided by the.
If you reject the evidence that has been provided by
Christian God in natural and special revelation, deny that he's given self-disclosure, then the problem is going to be
deny that he's given self-disclosure. That means nothing. You can't deny if something's self-disclosed. You can't deny it. You can't deny something that's obviously true. You can't deny it if it's a fact. You can't deny it if it's staring you right in the face. But if it's not staring you in the face, you can deny it.
Whatever putative fact or propositions that you say afterwards is going to require its own ultimate basis, which is not the Christian God. And then you're going to be in a big bag of hurt.
But you haven't proven God. You know that, right?
Right.
Okay, wait a minute, though, because.
That's a very good question. You haven't proven God. You know that, right? Somebody says. You know that, right? You haven't proven God. You know that, right?
You still didn't answer my question, which is I need you to give me an example.
I have multiple people asking me questions. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, please answer my
I'm going to focus on you right now. I will. I'm going to focus on you, Jared.
Okay. Can you give me an example of a truth that is absolute?
Okay. Here we go. So he never says absolute truth. He said that in the beginning. He says that the triune God is absolute, but he didn't say it's absolute truth. Now he's being asked, can you give me an example of a truth that's absolute?
Yeah, the Christian God exists.
There's absolute truth. The Christian God exists. So he's a sneaky, snaky son of a bitch, lying deceiver. And that's just being nice of me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to play that again because you can tell how he's such a liar that he can't keep up with himself with these lies.
I have multiple people asking me questions.
Yeah, you're so popular.
Okay,
go ahead.
Now please answer
I'm going to focus on you right now. I will. I'm going to focus on you, Jared.
Okay, can you give me an example of a truth that is absolute?
Yeah, the Christian God exists.
The Christian God exists. That's a truth that is absolute.
Show me that it exists.
The Christian God exists due to his self-disclosure in natural special revelation, and the denial thereof leads to incoherence. So in the same way that you believe in the reality of the external physical world, laws of nature, causality, and laws of logic, you believe them due to the impossibility of the contrary. The Christian God's self-disclosure is true not only because of its self-disclosure, but due to the impossibility of the contrary. And if you simply do not accept the self-disclosure of the Christian God, then I'm going to ask you, what is your model of reality or ontology that is a basis for anything?
There was a lot to swallow, but it was a lot of shit, a lot of drivel, a lot of crap. I'm going to listen to that again because he's such a bullshitter. He's such a fucking bullshitter. I'm going to listen to that again.
The external physical world, laws of nature, causality, and laws of logic, you believe them due to the impossibility of the contrary. The Christian God's self-disclosure is true not only because of its self-disclosure, but due to the impossibility of the contrary. And if you simply do not accept the self-disclosure of the Christian God, then I'm going to ask you, what is your model of reality or ontology that is a basis for anything?
Utter gibberish.
Utter gibberish.
Buddy,
you see, they all called him out right away. Utter gibberish, somebody said. And it is utter gibberish. Let's see how he handles the crowd.
Burden of proof is not or not.
Yeah, just for all of you other hecklers in here, just take note. I'm going to ignore you. I'm talking with Jared right now.
The burden of proof is on you.
Well, there's
so
self-revelation
Jared,
of the elder gods through the works of H.P. Lovecraft.
So Jared,
you
do
can't
you?
refute it. You cannot.
Yeah, you're on ignore, sir.
Oh, look, he's starting to become Hitler again. Gestapo Gary. Here we go, Gestapo Gary. Coined a new phrase for you, Gary.
Jared, do you understand? Either you accept the self-disclosure of the Christian God, or you reject it. So which is it?
He doesn't know. He's a relativist.
Self-disclosure. I need you to be specific. Like, what do you mean by the self-disclosure?
Yeah. God, the Christian God, has revealed himself in natural revelation and through special revelation.
The Christian God has revealed himself through natural revelation and through special revelation. How Einsteinian of Gary Milne to come up with that. So I've heard him, by the way, viewers, I've heard him say special revelation, general revelation, and he's also at times put in innate revelation. I have no idea what either of those mean, but I don't think anyone else has either.
You either accept it or you deny it.
Why have I not seen that? I have not seen that.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Bible?
The Bible.
I have not read it in its entirety, but I know like a couple verses.
Okay. Do you?
He goes to the Bible. We know we're in trouble.
The Bible as the infallible, inerrant self-disclosure of the Christian God. Do you accept that?
Yeah.
One more time with the question, please.
Do you accept the Bible as the infallible, inspired self-disclosure of the true God? Do you accept it?
I like the way they're laughing at him. Hello, Henry. Good to see you back.
Okay, can you say it in words that aren't so big.
Do you accept the Bible as the self-disclosure of the one true God?
You believe the Bible.
You
accept the Bible as true.
Yeah.
I do not accept it as true. No.
Okay. So then, when you are going to be conversing with me here on, and you're going to make propositions or predications, in order for them to be intelligible, since they won't be in virtue of the God of the Bible as the basis for their intelligibility, what foundational principle or absolute of existence are you going to...
Right there. Absolute of existence. That's bunk. Absolute of existence means nothing. It's a buzzword. An empty buzzword at that. Hey, welcome the African humanist and secular pagan mum. Hi guys, good to see you. Hey, if we have enough interest, we might even have a chat later after this. We'll see.
Have as a basis for intelligibility.
I'm not going to have any because I don't know.
Well, then why are you speaking? Why should I even? If you don't know what the basis is for anything, why do you bother making any declarations then?
That's a stupid statement. If you don't know what the basis is for anything, why do you bother making declaration?
Because the burden of proof exists.
Okay, so okay. Do you? So you say the burden of proof exists. Is that fact rooted in the ground of all being, that which is ultimate? Is it meaningful? Is the burden of proof a meaningful concept and stipulation in virtue of that which is ultimate?
To me, it is.
What?
To me,
I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you to you. I said, is the statement the burden of proof? Is it intelligible with respect to the ultimate nature of reality?
Yikes.
How else are you going to detect it?
Wait. No, I think I see the problem here.
Do you have an answer?
Hi, Ann Kennedy. Welcome. Thank you for subscribing.
Wait. I think I see the problem.
Yeah, I'm waiting for an answer to Jared. If anyone talks in between the time he talks, then you're heckling. So you don't have an answer. Thank you. You can be quiet now. I'll move on to somebody else. Because what I've just demonstrated to you is when you reject the self-disclosure of the Christian God.
How do you reject a self-disclosure when there's no self-disclosure? I think his mannerism, the way he's so aggressive, I think that's the key to his continuing to play his shtick. He has to be aggressive and assertive in order to be relevant in any way whatsoever. He's an idiot, isn't he?
You will have no basis to assert things.
What if you're Vishnu then?
Wait. No, so I think the
case. You haven't actually argued that's the case.
Well, no, see, I think here's the problem. I think Darth has the locus of reality built on top of the Christian God. That's the objective absolute basis. And if you're a relativist, the locus of reality is built upon yourself. It's your.
Oh my
No,
God!
Tal. That was very badly put. That would not be the locus of reality, because the
locus
moon
of reality
does not exist in virtue because of you or me or whoever is under consideration. The locus of reality is going to have to be whatever is ultimate and absolute. No. You really do not understand the issue, Tails.
Well, no, but see, here's
he's come up with this ultimate and absolute nonsense. Where does he get in his head that there has to be something ultimate and absolute? And because there has to be something ultimate and absolute, it has to be the Christian God. There's just no connection between this to that and that to this. None.
I accept on faith that there's this concept of objective reality of things that exist whether I'm conscious or not.
Why don't you be just a little bit more transparent and say, I accept this arbitrarily. I accept that arbitrarily.
Yeah, that's what I understand faith to mean, like without good evidence.
Using the word arbitrarily is
no,
quite
but you see,
false
but you don't understand.
Based on observation, pattern recognition, and testing over long time of the. You're disrupting. You know
okay,
that, right?
When you talk about good evidence, there's no basis.
They're getting annoyed with him. I've just got a question for you. Do you really blame them? I thought not. Oh, what happened?
In your model of reality, Tails. You see, what you've done is, listen, Tails, in all due respect to you, you're a nice guy. I don't think you're stupid, but you've contradicted yourself several times. When you acknowledge that there's no basis for anything, then when you make an appeal to evidence, evidence won't be based upon anything ultimately. Okay?
I have a basis for reality to refute his, but he local muted me against the rules and everything. But he did.
He's a moron.
He's a moron.
It's just an ultimate fucking moron that says
everybody
that
is
I
being up
have
and
the
dark,
absolute
but
truth.
getting beat
I
down.
have no evidence of the absolute truth, but I have
This
it.
is what they're left with trolling and nickel.
Oh, now they're trolling because they've recognized that Gary's a moron. They're trolling. So Gestapo Gary's going to take out his little troll book and list everybody who's trolling in his little book. Excuse me.
It's embarrassing. It happens all the time.
Asking Darth what it would actually mean. Guys, have you actually thought about asking Darth what it would mean for something to be, quote, the grounds of reality?
Yeah.
Yes! What does that mean, Gary?
We've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that several times.
No, he basically says that you can't have any intelligible anything without a ground for reality. So basically, anything that has any logic or rationality requires that acceptance. Like it's almost like everything you do there's no way out of it, basically, which is.
Well, this is very interesting. This is very interesting because he doesn't have grounds for anything outside the Bible. He doesn't have anything outside the Bible. His idea.
Virtue of an ultimate
Nothing
basis or
outside the Bible is true or real
Bro,
to him.
why are you
Nothing
so
outside
angry,
the Bible.
No,
Dude, why are you
he
so
talks
angry?
about there being a natural revelation or something.
No, yeah, but okay, so then God speaks to him. Can we ask him that? Does God speak to him and tell him what reality is then? Because he has no basis except the Bible, because he said, well, you have to accept the Bible to, have somewhere to come from. And the Bible doesn't mention everything in the world, so how does he know that anything outside of the Bible is true? I'm curious about that.
Tail, you might as well, listen, Tail, you might as well simply dismiss everything you hear coming out of Lem, because Lem says he doesn't know anything is true.
I say that too.
Okay.
Like, I know things are true.
Well, then, if you don't know that anything is true, then all that's coming out of your mouth is sound and fury, signifying nothing. It's just a gobbledygook of arbitrariness.
I know something that's true. I know that Gary Milne, a devout Christian, committed adultery with his wife, or on his wife, I should say. Oh, there's another thing I know that is true. Gary Milne divorced. No, let's put it this way. Gary Milne's wife divorced him. I know something else that is true. Gary Milne's children want nothing to do with him. And I know something else that is true. When one of Gary Milne's daughters, he's got 5 children, when one of the daughters got married, Gary Milne, the father, was not invited to the wedding. All these facts that I have mentioned were brought to you by the grace of the Christian God, which is how Gary Milne runs his life. Adultery, aggressiveness, deception, lying, short fuses, humiliating other people, denigrating other people, dissing other people. This is modern Christianity. Well, this is Christianity through the ages. Presenting the Christian Gary Milne.
Okay,
no,
so
I feel like there's a dichotomy there that I don't necessarily have to accept, or I'm not accepting. So
what's the dichotomy that you're referring to, Tails?
Well, you wouldn't be the only one not accepting things, Tails. Like Dawkins here, when I tried to bring up my source for my grounding of reality, he was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to mute you. I'm gonna have to stop this."
Typical.
You're ignored. It's like, come on, Dawkins, play on a fucking level playing field, you
Right.
pussy.
Hyper, unbeknownst to you, I turned you up a while ago. I was ignoring you.
Unbeknownst to you, I was ignoring you, but now I'm not ignoring you. Unbeknownst to you. The guy's, he's got this sense of entitlement. It's like, he thinks he's like king shit. King of the world, because he's a Christian and he knows things. God has spoken to him and no one else. I guess he's special. He's special needs, Gary is.
Because you're being obnoxious. Now, if you want to act like a grown-up, I'll be glad to have a conversation.
I don't think Shub Niggurath would appreciate being called obnoxious.
Yeah, okay. Darth, you're not acting like a grown-up. You're being condescending. You're disruptive.
Yeah. Yes or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. So,
yes.
So what do you want to what do you want to start with, Hyper?
First of all, your Bible and your God are lesser than the elder gods who rule over the multi-cosmos. Period. You can't get away. You can't get away from it.
Exactly. Oh, that's it. That was the whole clip. They laughed at him. They chided him. They derided him, and I loved every second of it. Now, does anybody want to get into a group chat? Let me know, and I'll open up the room. In fact, the room is open already. I'm going to join it, and then I'll put the link, and if you all join it, then I'll know you're into it. If you don't, then I'll know you're not. All right, so here it is, the join link for the chat, live chat. I'm not even sure if we need to go live with the live chat, but I got the option open right now, considering that I'm already streaming. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got an idea here. I will end the stream. There's the link to join the chat room, the meet. If you join, you join, and we'll take it from there. And if you don't, you don't. But for this segment, we will call it a night. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching. You make it all worthwhile. You join, and we'll take it from there. And if you don't, you don't. But for this segment, we will call it a night. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching. You make it all worthwhile.